Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Jason Cisneros, also known as the Bald Avenger, the tattooed guru, the purveyor of all things common sense, the king of the Misfit Nation, and a legend in my own mind. That pissed people off. Like they're like, he says he's a legend. They don't hear the tagline. They don't hear me say, in my own mind, y'all. Quit taking yourself so damn seriously. That's a big, big message for today. Stop taking yourself so damn seriously. Well, look, the title and the subject of tonight's show. I speak about things that I'm watching happening around me. I speak about things that I speak to a lot of you that are interacting here and what you have to say and what's going on real time. From politics, we talk about vitality, how to keep your energy high for just being able to do life. I know a lot of us don't have time to be stage ready, with our abs all shredded and everything else. But, health doesn't have a lot to do. Some of it has to do with how you look, but a lot of it has to do with your cellular makeup and all that other kind of stuff. So we talk about vitality as well. Next week's show, we're going to focus in a little bit more on that because everybody, no matter where I go, people are always like, holy shit, you got a lot of energy. Well, it's because I focus on it. I spend time on it. I research, I test, I do a lot of things. And Dr. V, if he'll ever stop being such a celebrity out in the world, decide to grace us with his presence, he's got a lot of really great, one of the top, I'll just go ahead and say here, he's the #1 bariatric surgeon in the world. See, #1 weight loss surgeon in the world. He changed his title, but he has a lot of really great impact because he's seen the worst, right? There's a sliding scale, and he's seen the worst in the world when it comes to that. And so having vitality to be able to do your life is absolutely crucial. So politics, vitality, we talk about philanthropy and giving back. We also talk a lot about business because that's my background. And I apply a lot of business because it's really interesting to me when you look at the world through the lens of business, how you can apply those lessons to everyday life, whether it's relationship, whether it's to your health, whatever it is, those same principles. Those of you that know me know that I do, we've got one of the businesses I own is a consulting company, and we help business owners around the world get more time, make more money so that they can do more good. And that's the whole principle behind it. But those same principles, I've had friends call up and, their kids are, hooked on opioids. And when you have a system that works for execution and outcome, it works in every aspect of your life. And that's really the subject of tonight and the show is to really look at the world through where in your life are you shadow boxing, right? Where in your life are you fighting apparitions that don't really exist? And this, I dove really deep in this week. I generally do a lot of prep for these shows, which is, again, unlike me. I step on stage anywhere in the world, and it's just kind of, I go with whatever the room needs to hear. So this has been a different experience for me, stepping outside of my unprepared box into a prepared for something to say and to have things to back it up. And really, when we look at this, what are the results of shadow boxing? What's the opposite of that? Everybody watching this, everybody listening to this, whatever platform you're coming through here on, what we're trying to do is we're trying to experience a life of peace, okay? And whatever comes along to disturb that peace, then that's where we start to define it as I've got a problem or I've got a challenge, and some of us view that challenge as something outside of us. Some of us view that challenge as something inside of us. Some of us, when we're viewing it outside of us, like to assign an evil, sort of title to it. And when it's happening with ourselves and we've accepted the responsibility in and of ourselves, we can also define what's going on in us as evil or insurmountable. And what I dove into this week about shadow boxing and solving the problem it is I see so many business owners and so many of my friends and so many different people that are out there battling and doing the work and putting in day after day after day. And the words that come back, which are so valuable to understand this, and I've got some backup for it. I've said for a lot of years that however you're speaking to yourself is the results that you're getting, because that trains your neural net pathways. And there's an addition to that tonight that I'm going to talk about in the world of understanding the brain called myelin. but we look at the world, and however we define it, we use words, whether they're spoken out loud or it's a repetitive thought that's going on. And then what happens is that forms solidly into a belief. Black people are, white people are, women are, men are, gays are, straight are, all of those kind of things. And you end up with this set of beliefs. And when that set of beliefs is giving you your minimum output that makes you feel comfortable, then we settle in on it. We just settle in on it. And then we go about telling the world, I want to change. I want to do different things. I want to grow my business. I want to be in a better relationship. I want to get healthy. I want to do it. And we're sitting there running these programs over and over again because we've run them thousands and hundreds, millions of times in some of our cases, millions of times over and over and over again. And we say out loud one time, I want it to be different. Well, you weigh 1,000,000 times or one time. Which one is going to be more powerful? And that's the challenge. Like we get into these patterns and we get into these beliefs, and we don't realize that those words they form a belief, and then those start to form how we react to the world, and our actions then get us the results that we're seeing in our bank account, with our loved ones, with our friends, with our businesses, with whatever your charity, whatever it is that you're working on, comes down to that person that's staring you in the mirror. And this is personal. I get a lot of flack back from people because, again, I believe we've built the greatest business program on the face of the planet. And you're going to understand a little bit more about that later. But, and I get told, Jason, stop telling people that it's hard. And I push back and I push back. I'm like, no, because changing anything in your world is difficult. It's not fucking easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be like, oh, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I'm going to be 50 pounds lighter. And then it would happen. But it doesn't. You go into a bookstore and like 3/4 of it is filled with diet books because you don't get your mind invested in it. You don't get your mind associated with that new you, right? The same bookstore is full of how to make more money. And yet we go in and we read that money, and it goes onto this full cup of how we understand what we believe about the world. And we go, that is 100%, like that's right. And then we don't do shit with it. We buy it. It becomes shelf help. We've all heard that terminology. We think, oh, I want to be in a great relationship. And then we go back. This happened in my life where I had to look in the mirror and go, you know what? There is one constant in my life when my relationships go bad. It's me, right? It's the person looking in the mirror. I'm the common thread between all of those things. Now, people, in my life, I have decided, just like you, that to lump things like all women are, right? That's been something I've said before. And then I look at that and I start to have to eat my own dog food here and look at the way that I look at the world. And I think about it and I go, you know what? It's not all women. You know what the common denominator is me interacting with females, right? There's some common things. I always bring me to the table. No matter where you go, there you are, right? These are little common sense sayings for you to understand that no matter what it is that we're going to try, that you want to try or you want to do or you want to commit to, that there's a set of rules biologically that you have to engage in for you to be able to attain that next level of performance for yourself, right? And so we're going to go through some of those things, and understanding how the brain works and setting that premise in the first place is that when I'm talking to business owners, they're like, I am working my ass off, right? And my next question is, for what? Right? For what? And the answer comes back, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And you can tell when you're associated to something, right? When I speak to Dr. V and I ask him, why are you doing what you're doing? I know his answer is completely tied to emotion, because that's what gets you through all of the resistance that shows up for you in your life. The minute that you decide to do anything different, resistance shows up, right? It shows up no matter what you're trying to do. There is no easy path. And anybody that tells you any different is trying to sell you some shit, okay? And we've talked about that quite a bit. So wherever you go, there you are. And the premise is that when we get to a place where we've tried all of these other things, we've tried the business course, we've tried to read the relationship book, we've tried going to counseling, we've tried going on a diet, we've tried, in Dr. V's case, to chop a portion of our stomach and put a ring around it or whatever the hell it is. I'm not doing it justice. He'll talk more about it this week or next week. But we do these drastic things. And the one thing that we don't address is our own mindset. What is the thing that's going on? And this isn't mindset from, are you committed or are you, it's sometimes not knowing the science behind it. It's not knowing that there is an actual chemical, electrical, habitual thing that's going on in your brain that is causing you to react to your environment the same way and predictably over time. And it's because you form a neural net pathway, which there's floating possibilities called neurons in your brain. And when they connect, it becomes a neural net pathway. That then forms a pathway for the electrical impulses based on the results that you're getting from the outside world. And then what happens, if you've thought about it enough times, is it starts to get wrapped in myelin. Now, myelin is, in my simple terms, because I'm not a brain science or a brain scientist, is that myelin is a conductor, okay? So it helps those electrical pulses and all of the things that are going on in your brain, it helps them go faster. So the more you think of something, now it starts to get wrapped, and now it becomes a habit. Becomes a habit of thought, which becomes a habit of belief, which becomes a habit of actions, which becomes a habit of results. And you can't unwrap myelin. This is one of the things, and one of the books that I highly suggest, and maybe Andrew, you can throw this up for people, is called The Talent Code, okay? Some of the stuff I'm talking about is from The Talent Code. The other stuff that I'm talking about is from a book called The Rise of Superman. And there's some other books that I'll mention along the way. But this is the hard research that shows why breaking a habit. You're like, oh my God, I so want to be happy. Let's say you're a depressed person. I really, 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 really want to be happy. And I tripped over. I've talked about the discussions I've had with the doctor in Bethesda that has worked on the brain for damn near 50 years now. And she told me, because they're trying to do it with outside, they're not trying, they are doing it. They're interrupting some of those patterns, rewiring things for different people, PTSD, ADD, all those kind of things. They're doing amazing work. And in my discussion that I had with her, she said, Jason, what you did was you discovered the thing that people can, it's obviously better if you can find a technology that can speed this process along, which we're going to be talking about that and doing a live. Cleo and I are going to do a live from Washington, D.C., or sorry, Bethesda, Maryland, with this doctor while we're there to talk a little bit more about the technology. Technology should be an advancement, right? Should be an advancement of your, or an accelerator. That's a better word. It should be an accelerator of a system that already works. And that's why so many pieces of software don't work, is because they dreamed up something in their head. They've fallen in love with their own language. They've fallen in love with their own product. And they forgot that there's people like me that have to be able to use it, right? No matter what my technical skill is, which is basically at the level of being able to turn on my iPhone and turn it off. It's about it. Every once in a while, I can push the little button to update it. But you have to, that's why so many software things don't work. They come up with something in their brain, and they forget that technology is just an accelerator of a stream of income. And a stream of income only happens when you're adding value to the user. Okay, whether it's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan gets paid so much money. I heard this so many times. Michael Jordan gets paid so much money because of why does he get paid more money than a teacher? It's because he impacts more people. Right? There's more people that are value, and it's not to say that there's anything less than in a teacher. It's just that there's a different comparison as to the eyeballs and the brains and the hearts that are reached by Michael Jordan, who was on television and exciting everybody and changing the world with the way that he played basketball. And so when you look at the world through different lenses, the very first starting point for any kind of change is to understand this premise, that your brain, for whatever reason, has been trained and built for you to think the way that you think. That then builds the belief system. That then drives your actions. And then those actions are getting you feedback called results. Now, it's so challenging. And I hear people all the time talk about how hard it is to change and then giving them the right tools. Well, if you read the Talent Code, you're going to read a lot about, and brilliant marketing. This is a really good point that Joshua makes, is that brilliant marketing, all they're doing is playing on, and this is where I fought back so hard against all of these people that are doing marketing, because again, I believe that I built the best business system on the face of the fucking planet. And when I get told you got to market like these other people who I despise, because I see through their strategies, I see through it. And when you see through shit, you really, and you know it's disingenuous, and you know that they're doing it just to make the sale, not necessarily to add value. Some people are, but for the most part, it's just to make the sale. And you can tell by the ones that are out there bragging about how many millions of dollars that they're making by using deceptive, manipulative strategies that trigger the way that you believe about things. That telling people that it's going to be easy, telling people that you know, there's 5,000 other people. Oh, here's some people that we paid to put up testimonials. Here's some people, you know, some other guys that are doing what we're doing, or women that are doing what we're doing, talking about my product. They've never used it. They don't execute on it. They just have a symbiotic financial relationship that their customers and their audience is going to go to their audience. Look, all of that stuff is valuable if your product and or service is valuable. Okay. And that's why we drive a lot. We drive a lot on referrals, and because the people that are using it are then know it's good. And we want to talk to other people that are just like them. So let's get back to the point of this, which is how much shadow boxing, because you gotta understand, why are you going to listen to this content for the next, you know, whatever it is, 30 minutes. If you have something in your life that you want to change, you've got to understand the science behind it. I know there's a lot of woo-woo out there, and a lot of woo-woo works because it changes your belief system, right? Whether it's religious, whether it's spiritual, whether it's whatever it is, it works because you're reaching for something that you can grasp onto, and then your brain just attaches to it enough times that it overrides and becomes a more powerful connection to that belief. And then it's wrapped in myelin. And then you build that superhighway bigger to your, you know, between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. And now your actions change because of your spirituality, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Or because of the religion that you decided to believe in. There's nothing wrong with that. But always understand that it starts with you, this thing that God gave you, that you were born with, that science gave you, whatever it is you believe. I'm not telling you from what perspective to believe, but on the other side of the equation, you've got to understand that it starts here. And so some of the things that I jotted down that I wanted I pulled out of several books, but I want to go through specifically the notes that I found fascinating from the Talent Code. And some of the notes that I want to make sure that I hit everything here is figure out just something while you're sitting there listening to this, or you're watching me on screen. Think about something that you've wanted to change for a really, really long time. And then filter back, as you think about that, filter back at all the different approaches that you've taken, right? Filter back through all of the different approaches, all the different things that you've tried your ass off to change. Whether that was booze, like let's talk about some of the negative things you've done. There's alcohol, there's drugs, there's food, there's multiple relationships that were shallow, not deep, right? What are the ways that you tried? You went to church, you meditate, right? What are the different things that you've done to say, you know what, my peace has been disturbed. Part of being a human being is that progress is what makes us happy. And so if you sit in that for too long, your natural tendency, because you have a heartbeat and you live on this fucking planet, is the idea that you're going to become uncomfortable with it. You're going to become unsatisfied with it, because a giant piece of happiness that everybody's seeking and freedom comes down to the fact that you feel like there's more inside of you. And that's when your peace gets disturbed, and you should answer that call, because when you're not answering it, or you give up on trying to bounce up against that wall as many times as you have to get to the other side of it, that's where you fall into depression. That's where you fall into alcoholism. That's where you fall into drug addiction. That's where you fall into whatever they call being addicted to sex is, you know, whatever it is, we fall back, and that's a lot of you people use the term settle. I've tried praying, I've tried meditating, I've tried drugs, I've tried a psychiatrist, I've tried every different approach. And guess what? I'm fatally flawed. And that begins a slow death. That begins, and this is the thing that I just want everybody to understand, is that on the other side of whatever that case is, on the other side of that is just understanding how the brain physically works and how I overcame it. I don't know. Again, I'm not Cleo asked about how does it apply to mental illness. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm somebody who was diagnosed as being bipolar incorrectly. I'm somebody that was diagnosed with PTSD, which probably was true, right? I was diagnosed with panic disorder. All of these different things that I have been diagnosed with by the experts that gave me language that I could attach to. Okay, it's not me, it's the disease, right? It's the illness. It's my upbringing. It's my past. And for me, I can only speak for me because I don't, if you're somebody that's dealing with mental health issues or challenges in your life, I'm not a doctor, okay? But what I can tell you is that what I learned was I got so fed up with the life that I was living because of my belief systems that I contemplated suicide. And that is ending it. Ultimately, that's ending the pain, right? That was like, I'm in so much pain, I just want to end it. And I didn't. And when I didn't, I had a decision to make. I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to live like that. So I started reading and I just got committed to being healthy up here and to be joy-filled, right? We talk a lot about my primary question. It used to be, how do I protect myself? Because I had to with my father, my adopted father, and his abuse and his constant beatings and all of the things never being safe. I got into a mode of how do I protect myself, which caused a set of results that I wasn't happy with. I knew I had more potential. You know that you have more potential. You know that you have more to give, or you wouldn't be listening to me. You wouldn't be paying attention to this. You wouldn't be even seeking. Your peace has been disturbed for long enough that you're looking for answers. Okay. And so, when I look back on that area, one of the things that worked for me was to get ultimate control of my language. I knew, because I loved language, that a word gives you different feelings, right? Dr. Emoto, you can see when you speak to a drop of water, the cells change when you say, I love you or I hate you. They physically change, which all our cells are is a bunch of water. So you're repeating over and over and over to yourself the words that you believe. So the best thing that I can tell you, no matter where you're at on any spectrum of feeling pain, is it will improve if you improve the way that you speak to yourself. If you love yourself, if you get in and not in a delusional way, because you got to deal with the problem that is, right? This is part of the title for tonight, is dealing with the problem that is. But understanding that starting point on any map, you got to know where you are before you can ever go anywhere. Okay. And I learned that in doing adventure racing. They would just blindfold you, put you in an airplane, you jump out, you parachute into a different place. And the very first thing that you got to figure out is, where the hell am I on the map? And a lot of people don't do that. What we do is we're so busy coming up with distractions of, this is the president, this is the environment, this was my mom, this was my dad, these are my sisters, these are my cousins, these are my best friends, my color is this, my sexual preference is that, I'm a woman, I'm a man. And so we start to assign these issues that we put up as barriers that aren't really barriers. Okay. I'm talking a lot about America because it's different in different countries. I understand that. But even there, we have immigrants. If one person has immigrated here, if one person has been able to overcome those challenges in the world, so can you. So understanding that where you are in your mindset is crucially important. And what that takes is humility, y'all. It takes humility. It takes laying down everything that you've ever blamed anybody else for and laying it down, forgiving them, letting it go. And, and I know that letting it go is a trigger for a lot of people, because you're dealing with stuff and you're really genuinely feeling it. And somebody goes, why don't you just let it go? It pisses you off a little bit. I'm not saying let it go as in it's that easy. What I'm saying is, try laying down those beliefs that anything outside of you is stopping you. And let's just investigate for the time that we have left. If we lay all those things down, we're left with what we came into this world with, which is just us, naked and screaming. Okay. Hopefully the way that we leave, naked and screaming. And we're going to go by ourselves. We're not taking anybody with us. Nobody care. Like when we're dead, do we care about what other people think about us? No, we really don't. What can we do about anything when we're dead? Nothing, right? That's the issue here. So the idea is, while we're drawing breath, what can we do to improve that? And I think understanding where you're starting from, the way that you approach the world is getting you your results. If you just accept that one truth for this 20 minutes and sit in it for a little while, you start to feel it's a little bit lonely. I know, experiencing this back when I first went through it, it was a little bit lonely for a minute. And then it starts to become a little bit more exciting. And you think to yourself, the story of Sir Amundsen that went down to the South Pole. And there was a big rush down to the South Pole to be the one that plants the flag and that discovered it and all this other kind of stuff. And people were looking at it like, we'll pay a bunch of money, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. And nobody was applying for the trip because it was like crazy at the time, right? It was just like going to the moon. And so I think it was like back in 1910 is when this race started. And what he did was he put out an advertisement that said, come and discover, come be on my team, come discover the South Pole, hard work, not very much money. Certain death almost awaits. But if we do it, glory forever. And the next day and the next week, there was a line of people because they got told the truth. I'm told all the time that if I wanted more people to do my business program, that I should market the way other people do. I just won't do it. Because at the end of the day, I know what I built, and you'll understand why here in a little bit, which has given me even more certainty, because the people that have done it know and understand the results. I've seen it. It's not a guess. I don't have to fake people out. I don't have to tell them that there's 3 left. I don't have to tell them, I don't have to do any of that shit, because all you got to do is talk to the people that have been through it and execute it on the information. Right. So I tell people that things are hard to do because it's the truth. You got to understand that number one truth is that somebody may have weakened you in your life and told you were beautiful. Somebody may have weakened you in your life and told you that you were smart. Why do I say weakened? Because if those are superficial things that you accept as yourself, you're going to forget the main component, which is hard work and discipline and execution. And some people maybe can float through this world with good looks and being smart and all that other kind of stuff. But I will tell you that there's a story out there with the guy with the highest IQ on the face of the planet works as a bouncer. Because the story goes that he didn't want to go out and try something and fail at it, because now this high intellect wouldn't be of any value. Instead, he gets to sit on a bouncer chair and basically have that impact on the world and not try anything and not execute. I'm not saying you shouldn't tell your kids that they're beautiful or that they're smart. Don't leave out the idea that it's fucking hard work. And that's where I get pushback a lot. It's like, I'm competing with one of the greatest business products on the face of the planet with other people that are lying their fucking asses off, and people buy it. Nothing I can do about that. All I can do is love the ones that love me, love the ones that love the product, and then talk to people that love them enough and trust them enough to be able to go in and change their life around their revenue or their money. Okay. So that trip, to just think about it in those terms. What have you set up as a glorious, like when you plant your flag on it, what have you set up for your glorious achievement? That no matter what happens, you're going to change your approach. There was a study done, and this is straight out of the book. There was a study done. I want to pull it up because I want to get the words right. There was a study done with 400 students in New York schools. And what they did was they said they took 200 of them on one side and 200 on the other. And they used 2 6-word phrases That was all they did. They gave everybody the same test, and they came out of it and they said, okay, you guys, they told one half of them, they said this 6-word thing: you must be smart at this. Okay, to that half of the students. And then the other half, they said, you must have worked really hard. And then they said, okay, here's the option of taking a harder test. And of the two groups, the groups that were participating, the ones that got told they were smart didn't want to take the next test. Because again, it would challenge that surface belief that, hey, I'm smart, and if I come back and this is hard and I fail at it, then that's going to damage my belief or my identity. And the kids that got told that they worked hard engaged in it at a much higher level. And at the end of it, the results were again very similar to the fact that, you know, the kids that got told they were smart, lower scores. The guys, the women or the boys and girls that got told that they must have worked very hard, they dug in. They learned a skill set that you may be smart, and the smarter you are, the greater it is. But if it's not attached to a work ethic, if it's not attached to a system that's going to help you move forward, then you're going to quit when resistance hits you. And that's the biggest shame, I think, for most people, is that you're walking around dead and just waiting for people to kick dirt on top of you. That's the sad part. I watched it happen with my grandfather, and it's very hard for me not to get emotional when I talk about him, but I'm going to try to push through this. I watched him give up. My grandmother, who he loved more than anybody else on the face of the planet, fell down and broke her hip. And very shortly after that, she survived. She went on, you know, it was like 15 more years she went on, you know, after her hip healed. But my grandfather fell sick right afterwards, and to a point where he was on his deathbed. And when I saw him on his deathbed, I went in and they couldn't find like a specific thing that was wrong with him. And I sat down next to him, and he was frail. My grandfather was a giant man. He was a giant man, and big, you know, he was like 6'6" or 6'5", and he was just this big guy. And I'm sitting there holding the hand of basically a skeleton. And I'm like, Grandpa, what the hell? And he looked over at me and he goes, Jake, that's my family. My name for him in the family was Jake. He goes, Jake, I don't want to be on this earth without your grandma. He just decided to quit, and his body followed his belief system. It was such a deep, impactful moment for me to know that my grandfather just gave up. He just gave up. And I love him. It doesn't make him any less of a man in my life. There goes the emotion. Damn it. I almost got through it, but it doesn't make him any less of a man. It just anchors into me that I will forever own my own fucking language. I will always take a responsibility for my own activities, for my own actions, for my beliefs, for the words that I repeat, for the words that I speak to other people. Are they adding value? Will I bullshit somebody else for a momentary advancement of finances? No, the old Jason would have. The old Jason would have told you whatever the fuck you wanted to hear so that I could make a sale or so that I could do a deal. That guy's dead. He's dead. Right? He died, and he doesn't exist anymore. This Jason exists. If you're going to hear me speak to you, it's going to be truth, and it's going to be. And again, my truth can be wrong, and it has been wrong at certain points, but I'm constantly challenging it. And this is that perspective. Where is your body following your belief? Where is your results following the belief? And it starts out with words. It starts out with, because shit, and Tony Robbins uses the example of butt versus ass. Two different, same thing, two different outcomes, right? Two different associations of what you believe about it. And so constantly diving in and figuring out because the whole title of this is shadow boxing. A lot of us are out there, but we're putting a bunch of energy and we're putting a bunch of shit, and we're not hitting anything. We're not advancing anything, and we're fighting ghosts, and those ghosts are our belief systems. Those ghosts are things that aren't true. They're not adding any value to us at the moment because we've associated to ourselves and we've decided to chew on the words that make us feel more comfortable, that may be a version of you 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or words that you never should have fucking accepted in the first place. And they were given to you by well-meaning parents, grandparents, friends, whatever it is, and you just accepted them and decided that that was going to be your operating system, and it's still the same operating system that you had all that time ago. And what a tragedy for us to pass away not having lived to our ultimate extent. And again, there's no judgment in that, because somebody growing a garden and somebody being a Mother Teresa doesn't, the comparison is, are you living the life that you enjoy? Are you constantly growing? And so understanding that these patterns are ingrained in us, right? These patterns are ingrained in us because of what we decided at some point in time to believe those words. Then they become the neural net pathways, or the neurons touch, they become a neural net pathway, and then they're wrapped in myelin, which is an accelerator of the hormones and the electrical pulses in your brain, which are just beliefs. I get fired up. I love you, Grandpa. So let's talk about some basic operational mindsets that I think that everybody can identify with. Understand that all forms of excellence have a formula, right? That's the premise. And in order for you to execute on any formula, there's a lot of them. A lot of you have bought diet books that would work for you. A lot of you have bought money books that would work for you. But what you did was that it went into an old brain set and you didn't execute. You didn't change your activities. And there's different sorts of, because failure also has a formula. And 5 ones that I have identified in your operating systems that don't support you are being a victim, okay? And I know that there's genuine victims out there, which is why we set this show up in the first place, was to help people, kids being trafficked that don't have any choice, kids, men and women around the world that don't have any choice about the amount of food that is being distributed to them, people that don't have a choice about whether they're being held captive as a domestic violence victim. There's real victims out there. And unless your choice has been taken away from you, i.e. even your freedom. I mean, and even then, when you read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, he said in prison during, at Auschwitz, I think it was, where he was imprisoned, he came to the conclusion that he was more free than his captors. So mastering this is what really frees you. And I hear a lot of people, I want to be free of this body when they're out of shape. I want to be free financially. I want to be free of all of these depressive thoughts. I want to be free of this relationship or the person I was that's causing these relationships. I want to be free. The best textbooks in the world from the greatest minds will tell you that place of freedom resides between your ears and how you think about things. And the five things that I have found is labeling yourself as a victim when you genuinely have choice around you, okay? Because I know there's real victims out there, so don't come at me, bro, around that idea. Playing the big shot, right? Somebody that has succeeded and now they're like, I know everything and whatever it is. So if you've succeeded to a place of financial impact, influence, whatever it is, and you rest, you're going to be just as miserable. There's as many people that are committing suicide that are rich as fuck that are people that are broke as fuck, probably more per capita. And it's because there's a decision that you have to make, and it's that money's not going to make you happy. It's a tool for you to be able to execute on your ultimate outcome. Okay, falling back on the idea of quitting, of being a victim, of blame. Okay, your education, you got educated, and now all of a sudden, because you went to Harvard or to Yale or whatever, that stunts your growth process just as much as if you say, I never graduated from junior high. Education is a choice, and it's everywhere around us in this information age. Okay. Being a martyr, the poor me syndrome is a huge one. If you're blaming other people, and I talked about this earlier in another conversation that I had, is the one that I despise the most are the people that when something's not working for them and they quit on themselves or they quit on the process, that they have to reach out to as many people as they can and bring them with them. I have a bad opinion because I had a bad interaction with this person. Now what I do is I get on social media, I get on the phone, I call my best friends, I write letters, I do whatever it is, because now I want everybody around me to quit just like I did or to believe just like I did. And that's the one that frustrates me the most in this world, is that when you quit, fine, that's a decision that you made. I respect the fact that you made a conscious decision to quit, but go the fuck away by yourself and don't take other people with you. Don't take other people with you. Now, if you're in a cult, and I would suggest taking people with you, right? There's exceptions to every rule. The beauty of somebody having a prefrontal cortex is the idea that you can hold two different opposing ideas in the same fucking brain, weigh them, connect them, combine them, exit one, exit both, and come up with a new one. That's the whole fucking idea of being a human being. So those are the platforms that I think that don't support us. Anytime you're blaming, anytime you're quitting, anytime that look, it's okay to change approach. You just say, look, I thought I wanted that multi-million-dollar house. Now what I want is I want a house that's on a ranch. Your perspective can change, right? Your perspective can change. That's part of being a person. A lot of women will tell you, it's my prerogative to have choice. Every guy, if you have a penis, you can change your mind too. That's the whole point. I had somebody tell me in investing a long time ago, Jason, you don't have to make your money back the same way that you fucking lost it. Think about that just for a second. You don't have to try to rescue your relationship same way that you fucked it up. You don't have to run your business the same way that you have that fucked it up to get your money back or to improve your situation. You got to try different approaches. You don't have to make your money back the same way that you lost it. Right? One way or the other, connect with your choice. Okay. This is a big deal. When you've stepped back and you go, okay, I've laid down blame, I've laid down accusing, I've laid down martyrdom, I've laid down victimhood, I've laid all this stuff down, and you're there with yourself, by yourself, and you lay all that down, and you make a choice to change direction, you make a choice to blame, you make a choice to quit. Connect yourself with that choice, because you're the one making it. No matter what it is in life, you're the one making it. I have made all of my choices that have led to all of my results on the good side and the bad side. And I've made some fucked up ones. If you follow me at all or go back and watch episode 1 of The Bald Avenger, I tell on myself about all of it. Okay. But I own it. I own those mistakes, and not an ounce more and not an ounce less. Right? You got to connect yourself to those decisions that you're making. And where are you shadowboxing, right? Where are you protecting yourself with fictional beliefs that are complete and total bullshit, right? Shadowboxing is supposed to sharpen you up for when you step in the ring. But if all you do is shadowbox, you're sharpening up your skills, you're wearing yourself the fuck out. For what purpose? Well, this is kind of an idea that, or the concept behind this is, what I'm asking you to do is stop fucking shadowboxing and get in the ring. And as Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the face. Whether you're running a business, whether you're in a competition, whether you're getting into a new relationship, whether you're trying to modify your health, whatever it is, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to step inside of a ring called change, called different approach. And one of the first things that's going to happen somewhere along that path is you're going to get smacked in the face, and it's going to hurt like hell. And if you didn't train getting punched in the face, you're going to be like, what the fuck was that? I'm done. I take off the gloves. Fuck this. It's not my game. But if you know a punch is coming, then you can learn how to duck. You can learn how to change your approach. You can learn what the distance between you and that person is. How do you work your feet, right? There's all kinds of skill sets that in the fight game that you can modify and improve upon when you first settle in with, here's my skill sets. I need a coach. I need training. I need a book. I need a seminar. I need something that's going to fill those needs so that I can become a better boxer. Because you don't want to get hit in the face, right? You don't want to. Some people, they're so good. Some people, Sugar Ray Leonard, you can go back and see his head movement, see how fast he was, hit both his hands and his head. Any great fighter in this world will tell you that it's about head movement. It's about speed rather than power. And when you combine it into an early version of Mike Tyson, he had everything. He had it all. He figured it out, right? And he would destroy people because he was operating in his power because he had a great coach. And that great coach coached him first here and then here. Okay. So myelin, and I'm just going to read some actual excerpts from the book so that we can move to the next level of this. Deep practice, ignition, and master coaching. Those are the three things that they suggest, right? And when you get into the talent code, what it basically says is there's hotbeds around the world. They use the example of soccer. They use piano, learning the piano, and it's forced failure in small environments. In other words, fail small and learn the skill set that's going to build up that new activity, the new brain, the new skill set in your brain. And it's doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again the right way that builds up a new pathway that bypasses the old way. And you've got more myelin and there's more neural net connectivity that can take somebody from very low skill sets, because skill is an acquired circumstance. Anybody can get better at whatever it is that they do. If you don't believe me, follow Christopher Kaysen, right? Where he was when he started the competition called The Next Impactor and where he is now, two completely different human beings. Same heart, but he's in a different place because he's put himself in small failure examples over and over and over again, because he's connected with the idea that he wants to make an impact for all adults that are experiencing on the spectrum of autism. That's his outcome. He's tied himself to it. So I want to read through some of this stuff, right? Those are the three things. Ignition means get your ass in the ring, right? Deep practice. What do you want to be good at? Practice the shit out of it in a knowing failure is part of it. And then ignition is get your ass in the ring, duck, dive, do whatever, do all the skill sets. You'll learn that you need to move your head when somebody like Mike Tyson is punching. And then master coaching, having his coach, is what made early Mike Tyson one of the scariest humans on the face of the planet when it came to stepping in the ring, okay? Every human movement, thought, or feeling is a precisely timed electric signal traveling through a chain of neurons, a circuit of nerve fibers, okay? Myelin is the insulation that wraps these nerve fibers and increases signal strength, speed, and accuracy. The more we fire a particular circuit, the more myelin optimizes that circuit, and the stronger, faster, and more fluent our movements and thoughts become. Okay? All of that setup was to get you to these very concise thought processes. Okay? These very concise thought processes. Now, he says he basically began visiting tiny places that produce Everest-size amounts of talent. 9 hotbeds that he visited shared almost nothing except for the happy unlikeliness of their existence at all, right? Which means that talent and skill can exist anywhere. And you'll read the book and you'll find out that that's absolutely true. Making progress became a matter of failures, a rhythmic pattern of blotches, as well as something else, a shared facial expression. Their taut, intense squint caused them to take on. When you're focused on something, it's not like, da-da-da-da-da, oh, where's Facebook? Da-da-da-da-da, oh, something really bothered me. When you're intense and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to figure it out, you got to look, right? You got to weigh it looking at the world. You're like, I'm going to make this happen. Da-da-da-da-da, leave me the fuck alone. Da-da-da-da, don't talk to me. Da-da-da-da, I'm not paying attention to what's on TV. Da-da-da-da. You're fucking focused. Right. And everybody that was in this book that was studied had that intensity, when they're in that learning mode, when you're forming new neurons, when you're wrapping that shit with myelin, you have a look about you, you have an energy about you, you have a decision to make, and you've made it. Okay. Let's see. When we see people practice effectively, we usually describe it with words like willpower or concentration or focus. But those words, think about this, those words don't quite fit because they don't capture the ice climbing particularity of the event. They're purposely operating at the edges of their ability, so they will screw up. Let me say that again. They're purposely operating at the edges of their ability, so they will screw up. And somehow screwing up has made them better. How? Right? It's targeted, right? Why is a targeted mistake-focused practice so effective? Think about it. When you make a mistake, most people retreat. People that are learning a new skill set and decide to execute, I can tell you this on the 12-week program, the people that lean into that shit, Laura Bramlett, you know, the people that have really dove into this are fucking obsessed with it. And by the way, they're the ones that have made like Abby and her husband Mark $5 million because of the program, and Laura $400,000 more than she's ever made before in her life, and she's got 3 new businesses because of it. Right? Emily, because of her intent focus, all of the shit that we're going from working for somebody, getting screwed over in a business, to now operating her own successful business. Like, I could go through each and every one of them. When I was reading this book, all of them popped to the top of my head. All of them. And the answer is because the best way to build a good circuit is to fire it, right? Attend to mistakes, then fire it again, over and over and over. Struggle is not an option. It's a biological requirement. Okay? Reading word for word, all the credit, what I'm reading right now goes to the talent code in that book. But I pulled out what I thought was really important, that if you never read the book, you'll be able to execute and understand this stuff. Why is targeted mistake-focused practice so effective? Because the best way to build a good circuit is to fire it, attend to the mistakes. In other words, change your approach, and then fire it again. And when you got it right, fire it over and over and over and over again. Struggle is not an option. It's a biological requirement. I just cannot keep saying that. It's so fucking powerful. Okay. The other question, why are passion and persistence key ingredients of talent? This is going to blow your mind, right? Passion and persistence, key ingredients to talent. Because wrapping myelin around a big circuit requires immense energy and time. Immense energy and time. If you don't love it, you'll never work hard enough to be great. Page 34. Let me say that again. Why are passion and persistence key ingredients of talent? Because wrapping myelin around a big circuit requires an immense amount of energy and time. If you're not remember what I said earlier? Hard fucking work. Immense amounts of energy and time into that skill which you want to execute on. So if the information that you're getting is bad and bullshit, it's never going to be fucking good for you. You're executing on the wrong shit, and you inherently know what that is. Whatever you're executing on should have some history to it. It should have some people that have used it before that are getting ginormous fucking results. Why are passion and persistence key ingredients to talent? Because wrapping myelin around a big circuit requires immense amounts of energy and time, hard work. If you don't love it, you're never going to work hard enough to be great. So fucking cool. So cool to understand that. Then there's useful brain science insight number 2. The more we develop a skills circuit, the less we're aware that we're using it. We're built to make skills automatic, to stash them in our unconscious mind, and it exists for powerful evolutionary reasons. A skill once gained feels utterly natural, as if it's something we've always possessed. I've always wondered around in business because we go in and what we started to do in business was we started recording the very first day, the very first meeting that I have with business owners, where they're just being honest because they're fucking wore out. They're broke. The company's having challenges. Their marriage is falling apart, whatever the case is. And I have that conversation with them. And I started to record it because we would get through this stuff and we would ease the pain. We put them on process and procedure. They would start executing. And somewhere along the way, they would get to a point where they're like, I know this shit, right? And they forget where they learned it from. And then, forgot where to give the credit, which was to fucking Anton J and to my years of getting my ass beat that helped them avoid all those problems. But now I understand that it becomes yours. When somebody executes on my program, it now becomes theirs. And they use it for their greatness, which is why I even started a consulting company in the first place, was to give it to somebody that they didn't need me eventually and that they didn't need my company eventually so that they could do it themselves. By God, it worked. And they go on and create fucking awesome and amazing things, right? And that's what a good product, I think that's a sign of a good product. So I want to make sure I hit everything here. I'm just going through my notes, which is unlike me usually. I'll give you some things that may, I've already given you the examples of all women are, all this is, money's this, money's that. The other thing that I hear from a lot of people is I want to grow a big business. And I can tell you from owning a big business, having owned multiple big businesses, having dealt with people that wanted big businesses, you don't fucking want a big business. What you want is a business that's creating a large amount of free cash flow. You don't want a big business. A big business is that I know I've dealt with companies, like I got brought into a company. We're doing $20 million. We're a big company. We have 150 employees. And I go, great. How much money do you have? Fuck, we've run up our line of credit. I borrowed money from my mom. I put all my life savings into this thing. In order to make, anybody can make $21 million if you spend $22 million to do it. That's one of the things that has settled in for me, is it just because somebody looks successful doesn't mean that they are. And a lot of times they get told, hey, look, you're such a great business owner, right? You're so smart. Go back to the lessons of those, of the junior high students, the 400 junior high students. If you get told something from somebody that it makes you believe that, now you are averse to failure. And you've seen here, the way to success is controlled failure. It's a part of the fucking process. So what system are you in that exists? In the case of the book, it's soccer, it's piano, and there's a system in these hotbeds that somebody came up with, and they practice over and over and over and over again. They talk about, the small movements that this one boy that was playing soccer played this other game that was with a heavier ball, and it wasn't on grass. He never stepped foot on grass until he was 14 years old. Okay. So what system are you executing on? Right. That's why, again, this is part of the challenge and the growth that I've had to go through, because I've reached a place where it would be very easy for me to exit the business scene, because I've done okay, right, to a play and not to push myself. But I know that my happiness is tied up in pushing through. And when I reach into this business world, and I'm like, fuck, I just built what I think is the greatest fucking system for business in the world. And I see what it takes for people to buy it, and it totally repulses me. And I'm doing my best to figure out what's the balance between those things. And so for me, it's just going to be enough time, because as it changes enough lives, y'all, I mean, you can see everybody that's gone through it. Always, no matter where I go, no matter what show I'm on, somebody shows up that's been through my growth, mastering your business G-spot. Somebody shows up and says, change my fucking life, change my business life. And for me, I know it's hard work. And those people that are looking for the easy button are going to hate my fucking course. So they're going to have to spend some money, waste some time, bump their head until they figure out, hey, maybe I'll go over here and try this other thing. Or you get to a place where some of my business friends get to, and they're just like, I know everything. And whatever it is, they got a $10 million business. That's as big as they're ever going to get, because they've just said, fuck it. I don't want to learn anymore. I don't want to change shit, because what if it messes with my $10 million that I grew this thing to? So it's for people that are committed to progress, and I give a safe step-by-step mode for people to be able to execute in their business over and over and over again. And it never changes. It's an evergreen product. You'll never need me again, because no matter where your business is, the same principles. You just go back to step one. Okay. You grow to $10 million. Just go back to step one. Go back to step one. I'm 50 million. Oh, what do I do at 100 million? It's just the same fucking principles. They don't change. Think about anything that you've ever done in your life that is a principle that you can repeat over and over and over again. And the only thing that changes is you, the you that exists. I love that part. So my question that I want to leave everybody with tonight is, I'm going to go back through some of you guys' comments. If you have any questions, I'm kind of getting to the end, but I want to leave you with this thought process. If you lay down all of the phantom things that are outside of you, unless you're a victim listening to this, reach out to us. Because if you're a victim of trafficking, if you're a victim of domestic violence, if you're starving to death, that's true victimhood. And we're here. This is the whole fucking thing. Everybody that's listening to this, trying to grow their income, is here to serve you and here to resource you. And if you have a charity that's struggling, same exact thing. But don't bring me your charity and not expect me to tell you that it's the same fucking principles to grow a charity that it is a business. Okay? And if you don't want to have that conversation, don't come at me, bro. So I want to leave everybody with that idea that if you accept that responsibility for the fact that the results that you're getting in your life are because of how you speak to yourself, because of those neural net pathways that were built. Early in life wasn't a choice, but after you turn 18 or you become an adult or whatever part of time, now it's your responsibility. And how you think is going to drive your beliefs, which is going to drive your results, that are going to drive your actions, which are going to drive your results. And how you do that is clearly spelled out in the talent code, clearly spelled out. The other one is The Rise of Superman. This is a really, really great book, and it's written by Steven Kotler, The Rise of Superman. If you read those two books, it's literally damn near impossible for you to blame anything outside of yourself for your own advancement, for the lack of your own advancement. And yeah, exactly. Kat didn't know what she was asking for when she asked me to come in and help a new dawn. She had no concept. She thought, oh, Jason will come in. You know, I don't know what she thought. She can speak for herself, but I will tell you that what most charities think is that I'm going to come in and start writing big checks, and I'm going to bring along a whole bunch of my wealthy friends that are going to write checks, and that's going to solve their problems. That's exactly fucking opposite of what happens. It's not what happens in my businesses. It's not what happens in the charities that I'm on the board of or the CEO of. It's not what happens. What happens is the fundamental belief system about being tied. Because I can tell you, if Kat wasn't tied to the outcome of a new dawn, she would not go through the shit that she goes through. Being woken up with 3 kids and 1 on the way, and having that connection, and leaving her family to go deal with a crisis call. She wouldn't do it if she wasn't associated to the outcome, and it's her outcome alone. Not yours, not mine, not anybody's. But if she wasn't connected to it, there's nothing I could do for her, because the first piece of resistance that came up, she'd fucking quit. And she demonstrated that she was attached to that by being there before I ever came along and going through a bunch of shit. Now, the second thing is that now you have to identify your audience. One's the donors and the other one's the recipients of the charity. How are we going to build value in those? What are we going to do to get clarity? How are we going to execute on all of these things? Hard questions. That's the value that comes with me, is the hard questions and the belief in building up a process and a procedure that will duplicate the success that you seek, whatever it is, $1 million, $10 million, reducing human trafficking from 2 million to 1 million, whatever it is. I set up the same fucking system no matter where I go, no matter what I do. When I started to execute on getting myself back in shape, guess what I followed? My processes, my procedures, my meal sessions, my execution on measurement, looking in the mirror, stepping on the scale. So it's the same exact thing. So wherever you are, know where you are and what you bring to the table, and understand that if you want to quit, failure is part of the process. So seek it out. Seek it out in a controlled environment that won't destroy you financially if you make a mistake. Seek it out. And so many people tie, I'm just going to make shit happen. I watch people, and I used to be one of them, so I can speak to this very clearly and very, very honestly, is I used to be one of those people that was fucking delusional. That I said, if I believe it just because I speak it out into the universe, that shit's going to happen. No, I was delusional. The people that say that shit, if I believe it hard enough, it's just, I am destined for it. I was born for it. Like, that's all helpful in your languaging, but it's not helpful for it to be the only thing. And for that, because then when anything shows up in your delusional state, it's just, I'm going to move that aside. Instead of taking the value, why a resistance comes up is to tell you a secret. It's to tell you a story. A piece of resistance comes up to say, hey, pay attention to me. That's a customer telling me something. That's a participant. That's somebody that's in my charity. That something is telling me that there's a piece of resistance. Is it something that's there that's a psychological resistance of somebody who wants me to fail? Or is it something that I need to address to change my approach to how I treat my customers? Do I need to modify my business model? Do I need to modify my product? Do I need to modify my service? Do I need to modify the way that I'm asking donors for money? That's a master step. That's a fucking grown-up. If you keep getting the same results over and over and over again, guess what? You're the problem. I was the problem. I don't know where I was going with that. So anyway, so getting clear about it, and then getting into a place where you commit. But if you don't know your outcome, y'all, if you don't know, I have people that are addicted to their business because their only value is in them being busy. I have people that are amazingly brilliant human beings that are addicted to being the big boss, being the one that knows the answers, that are addicted to working hard as the only value instead of progress with their business, making sure that their people are resourced, making sure that they're advancing, making sure that they're working hard, but it's a choice that they work hard and they could exit at any point in time. I deal with people all the time that have made, you've got to solve the problem that is, not the problem that isn't. Anytime you're trying to solve the problem that isn't, you're wasting your time and you're wasting this thing called life, and you are bringing in depression. You're bringing in frustration. You're bringing in sadness. You're bringing in anger. You're bringing in all those negative associations because you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't even exist. It only exists in your own mind. And you take that mindset and you say, you know what? I am where I am because of my own belief system, because of my own actions. And I'm going to take responsibility for that. And then pick up the book, The Talent Code. And then when you figure out what it is that you are willing to die for in this life, an outcome that inspires you, that makes your heart beat faster, something that makes you turn into a Red Avenger fucking gorilla, you know, and makes you get on a podcast with your silly sidekick called Bananas, right? What will make you do this at 7:18 p.m. my time after a long ass day? What makes me be here? It's the comments. It's y'all. It's the lives I see changing. It's the amount of money that's coming into the charities that we're raising. It's the amount of money that people are making with their businesses so that they can do more good. It's the people that were used to be in shut-in situations that are now experiencing the world. It's the people that used to only know sadness that now have had a little bit of taste of happiness and joy and accomplishment and progress. Because once you start, if you're going to be an addict, be addicted to progress, y'all. If you're going to be addicted to something, be addicted to making other people feel happy, because that in turn makes you feel happy. Choose your addiction carefully, and then resource yourself with the right system. Resource yourself with the right thought processes. Resource yourself with the right people in your life that believe that anything is accomplishable, but it takes hard work and it takes commitment. So that's it. Y'all ask me some questions. It's now Open Line Monday. Woohoo! I heard that happen on Rush Limbaugh's show. He's like, it's Open Line Friday or whatever the hell it is. We're going to have open line, except for nobody's calling me. Kind of like, anyway, I won't go there. Let me ask this question. Did you guys get any value out of tonight's message? Yes or no? If you got some value, just put in a 1. Put in a 1 if you got some value. Man, you guys are beasts. Been on here for over an hour. None of you have left. 1, good. Hi, Rayanne. I love you. I haven't seen you in a while. Love your hair, and you're amazing. Just put in there, you guys. Let me know if this was valuable for you. The big takeaway is always, ooh, lots of ones from Christopher. Hi, Noreen. Good to see you, lady. Brian, good thing you put a 1 in. Coming for you. Cleo got a 1. Good. That's one of my harshest critics right there is Cleo. If Cleo's happy, daddy's happy. Ruben, number 1. Yeah, good. James, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look, good. Kat, you better give me 1. I know where you are. And so take this, get that book, and realize that our biggest battle is always against ourselves. That's a responsibility that to be part of the Misfit Nation. It's, you know, it's like Amundsen when he went to the South Pole. It's hard work, low pay, you know, and certain death, you know, and those kind of things. Like, put me in, because there is certain, like, there is glory. There's certain glory when you overcome your own fears and you go with a group of people and you have a system to follow and you have a team to go with you, and the outcome is so epic. Like, if you're going to do anything in this life, why the fuck would you half-ass it? Put your whole ass in. Like, why would you do anything but any? Laura, I was bragging about you earlier, and about how you've executed in the way that it teaches in the talent code. That is a model human being for taking a system called the 12-week program and executing on it like it tells you to do in the 12 or in the talent code, right? Those two combinations, my business course and the talent code, lethal lethal combination. Okay. But again, I just want to say, if you're not awake, like if there's not something that's driving you, if you're not so fucking inspired by the hugeness of your accomplishment, then why not, right? You're afraid of failure, and you see in that book and everything that goes along with the brain that failure is a requirement. It's non-optional. It's a requirement. So get out there and fail small, fail little, fail to where you can measure it and you can change your approach. But come up with something. The starting point of this, y'all, is for you to sit still long enough and turn off all the noise. Turn off the noise of your failures. Turn off the noise of your family. Turn off the noise of the bills that need to be paid. Turn off all of that noise and let your fucking heart come to the top and say, if I could do one thing before I leave this planet, what would I do? What would it be? And sit with that shit. If it takes you 30 fucking days to come up with the answer, if it takes you 60 days, it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait for it to come to you so that you can start solving your problem that is. You're shadow boxing and you're fighting a ghost if you haven't determined what you're willing to, what you want to accomplish with this life. I've got bills to pay, Jason. I've got kids. I know that. So does every fucking other person on the face of the planet. I'm not saying sacrifice any of that. What I'm saying is you will be of more value to those people and to everybody around you when you get connected to your outcome. Because you came into this world naked and alone, and you're leaving naked and alone. You've got to take responsibility for that shit. And I just want, if this is it, wake up tonight, sit down with that notebook and just say, I'm going to sit here until I figure out what my passion is, what my purpose is, if I could do anything. And it may change, y'all. Don't say I got to come up with the thing that's never going to change in the world, right? My thing came up with, without anything in specific, was that I am a powerful world changer that enjoys every breath. It's non-specific. I'm a fucking comedian. I'm changing the world in multiple different areas from my perspective. And I think it's just a tip of the iceberg of what I'm capable of, because I'm addicted to progress. If we can build a 70 bed thing and shrink it from 5 years to 18 months, why not do 6 of those in the next 12 months? right? If we can rescue 36 little girls in a foreign country and put 11 traffickers away, why not 1,000 traffickers and 1,000,000 kids? Why not? Why not? And what's stopping you? The fear of failure, it's part of it. Misfit Nation, the chant should be, did you fail today? If not, what the fuck's wrong with you? It should be, your heart's got to beat, y'all. It's got to be something that keeps you up at night. It's going to get you up in the morning. You're so fired up about it because that's the only way I want to live life. And it's your choice whether you want to do it or whether you do, or your choice of whether you don't want to do it. But you've got to connect to you, that it's you making that decision and not the world that's holding you back. If one person's accomplished it, so can you. So that's it. Let me read through some of these. Felt like I lost my whole identity when I lost my job. 23 years after, yep, work was who I thought I was. Wake up call, none of that matters. Amen. Boom, right there. Answer this question a year ago, but I need to do this question again. Yes, you got to constantly do it, because Kat thought it was, I think, Kat, answer this question honestly. Do you think that somewhere in your mind you thought a 70-bed transitional housing home for abused women and their children was impossible? Did you ever, in your heart of hearts, did you think it was impossible at one point? I'm just waiting for the answer. I'm learning some entertainment value stuff that you don't want to have dead spot, but I think you all probably need a little break from my ranting and raving. Well, anyway, so she'll answer eventually, but I can tell you that everybody that's ever done anything has thought about it, has thought about quitting, or thought that what they even put out there in the universe was impossible. When you write it down, when you execute on it, when you have a plan that measures it, this is Laura. I thought I wanted to be on the big stage changing the face of dementia. 6 months later, I know I need to be online and reach more homebound. She would not have known that had she not been with that focused look on her face, like this shit's going to happen. This just changed her approach and crushing it. Kat, I basically knew it was impossible, but that was my drive. That was my mission, and that was my responsibility. See, I could tell you, she thought it was impossible. And then what she did was she did what a lot of people do when they think something's impossible. You put it out there in the future far enough that it's not really good. Like 5 years from now, people aren't going to really think back to me saying I was going to get it done in 5 years, right? We put it so far out there that nobody's going to hold us accountable for it. And then when it happened in 18 months, now she's like, oh shit, now what's possible, right? Now what's possible? Oh, I got pregnant. That came at me out of the blue. This happened, that happened. I had a bout with my friend. I did like all of this kind of shit. Life is happening to her, to me, to you. It's happening to all of us. Right? Exactly. Emily with her business and what was going on for N4M, she had to change her approach, right? A for-profit business that's going to fund the nonprofit. Like this is what happens, y'all, when you're connected to your source, right? We always talk about God, about the universe, about spirituality. What about your fucking source? What is your source of inspiration that you're going to do with all of that, with whether you believe in God or you don't, or whatever you think that this is it, or there's multiple lives or whatever it is? Why not get associated to your source and be crystal clear about what that shit is, and be so fucking passionate about it? Be so passionate about it that there's nothing that will stop you. Tiana. Hi, Tiana. It's good to see you. That fear will have you scared to live. I hate that I wasted so much of my life being scared of the very thing I had to face. New day now, but I still wrestle with that scared internal punk to the ground every single day. So true. Tiana, I couldn't put it better. You got to wrestle you to the ground, not anybody else. Yippa, yippa, yippa. They don't happen to me. They happen for me. I love it. Okay, y'all, I'm going to sign off, but connect to your outcome, radically associate to it, Learn the skill sets in the talent code of how you execute and how you fail small. If any of you are trying to grow your revenue or grow a business, that system that you're going to want to execute on is called the 12-week program, Mastering Your Business G-Spot. The G stands for growth. Okay. I can tell you that over and over and over again, anybody that's executed on it with that strategy from Talent Code has been massively successful. Massively. Okay. But if you want to do it in health, find somebody that's got a strategy. I've got Dr. V that's coming on. I've got the guy that took number 3 in the world, y'all, that stood on the Mr. Olympia stage and took 3rd place, who's one of my dear friends, one of my best friends. Tom Terwilliger is going to be coming on in the next couple of weeks. And he's got a system. This guy at his age is just, he's a picture, and his wife, they're just a picture of health. So you're going to want to learn from them. Relationships, find somebody that's got a system that you can ask people about of whether they're, and then execute on that system. In the mental health world, find somebody that's had a system, not that keeps you sick or keeps you feeling bad, but one that's advanced you and progressed you or someone else. Pick a system, throw your whole ass into it, and you're going to conquer it. Misfit Nation, I hope you had some value tonight. I'm going to be going live either Wednesday or Thursday for the next edition of the Bald Avenger Show with either Dr. V or Tom Terwilliger, one of the two. Either one is going to be great. And then the next week, it'll be the other guest, whoever doesn't show up this week. I will let you know. We'll be back again next Monday with another topic. And I just, again, I want to extend my gratitude for those of you that come and that share these messages, that share this podcast out. Those of you that are downloading it out there, the thousands that are being downloaded out there in the world, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. It's an ultimate expression of the fact that I'm adding value to you, is for you to share this message with somebody else that you think needs it. And it's the only gauge by which I think I'm being successful, is if we're bringing and adding more momentum to the Misfit Nation, coming into doing good things. And so those of you that return, that have been with me for years, thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. And you are the captain of your own destiny. Peace.